Hi kids, and welcome to another edition of Virtual Sunday School. I hope you guys are doing great, and I hope you've had a wonderful week so far. Before we begin our lesson today, I want to ask you a few questions, and I'd like you to think about how you would respond to these questions. Number one, have you ever been asked to do something hard? For example, maybe your music teacher asked you to play a solo in the upcoming holiday program. Or maybe your math teacher asked you to tackle a hard problem. Number two, have you ever been asked to take on a big project and you weren't sure exactly how to even get started? For example, maybe your mom asked you to clean up your messy room and there was so much stuff you didn't even know where to begin. And finally, number three, have you ever thought that maybe somebody else was better suited for a particular job? For example, maybe your teacher asked you to be the leader of the class, and maybe you didn't feel like you had the right skills, or maybe you didn't feel like the leader that your teacher thought you were. So in all these different scenarios, I want you to kind of think about them. Spend some time noticing how you would respond or how you would feel. And think about that as we move into our lesson today. Our story today comes from Exodus chapter 3 and 4. And it's about Moses, God's chosen leader. You can also follow along in our All of Us God Storybook, and this week we're in chapter 8. Who, me? Moses grew up in the palace with the Egyptians. One day he went out to see his people, the Israelites. They were suffering as slaves. In anger, Moses killed an Egyptian who was beating an Israelite slave. Pharaoh was furious. So Moses ran away to the land of Midian. There, he married Zipporah. They had children, and he cared for his father-in-law's sheep. One day, he led his sheep out to Horeb, the mountain of God. The Lord's messenger appeared to him in a flame of fire in the middle of a bush. Moses saw that the bush was in flames, but the bush didn't burn up. Then Moses said to himself, "Let me check out this amazing sight and find out why the bush isn't burning up." When the Lord saw that he was coming to look, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." Moses said, "I'm here." Then the Lord said, "Don't come any closer. Take off your sandals because you are standing on holy ground." He continued, "I am the Lord your father, Abraham's God, Isaac's God, and Jacob's God." Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, "I've clearly seen my people oppressed in Egypt. I've heard their cry of injustice because of their slave masters. I know about their pain. I've come down to rescue them from the Egyptians in order to take them out of that land and bring them to a good and broad land, a land that's full of milk and honey." God told Moses that he would be the one to lead the people out of slavery. But Moses said to God, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" God said, "I'll be with you, and this will show you that I'm the one who sent you. After you bring the people out of Egypt, you will come back here and worship God on this mountain." But Moses said to God, "If I now come to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' they are going to ask me, 'What's this God's name?' Now what am I supposed to say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am. So say to the Israelites, 'I am has sent me to you." God told Moses to go to the leaders of the Israelites and tell them that they would soon be set free. Then Moses replied, "But what if they don't believe me or even pay attention to me? They might even say to me, 'The Lord didn't appear to you.'" The Lord said to him, "What's that in your hand?" Moses looked and replied, "It's a shepherd's rod." The Lord said, "Throw it down on the ground." So Moses threw it on the ground, and immediately it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back from it. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Reach out and grab the snake by its tail." So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and immediately it turned back into a rod in his hand. "Do this, and then they will believe you. They will believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, Abraham's God, Isaac's God, and Jacob's God, has in fact appeared to you." Again, the Lord said to Moses, "Put your hand inside your coat." So Moses put his hand inside his coat. When he took it out, his hand had been infected by a skin disease, and it was flaking like snow. Then God said, "Put your hand back inside your coat." So Moses did that. When he took his hand back out again, the skin of his hand had returned back to normal. If they won't believe you or pay attention to you during the first sign, they may believe the second sign. If they won't believe even these two signs or pay attention to you, then take some water from the Nile River, pour it on the dry ground. The water that you take from the Nile will eventually turn into blood. Moses still did not want to go to the Pharaoh. "I've never been able to speak very well." God promised to help Moses. Even still, Moses asked God to send someone else. Someone else is better suited for this job. Finally, God told Moses, "Well, your brother Aaron could go with you and help you speak." So Moses picked up his shepherd's rod and he went. So our Bible passage today introduces us to Moses, and it shows us that God calls us sometimes to do things that are hard. Now in Moses' case, God's call came in the form of a burning bush. But more often, God's call will come in less dramatic ways, or sometimes even less clear ways. For example, last week you may recall the Hebrew midwives who stood up to the Pharaoh because they needed to do the right thing. So that's an example of them answering God's call. So as we think about our daily lives, we can probably see times when we've been asked to do something that was hard, or maybe we know we've needed to stand up for some sort of injustice, but we were scared, we were afraid. Or maybe we just think that someone else is better suited for that than we are. But God calls us anyway. He gives us signs just like he gave Moses. And he also reassured Moses that he was going to be with him. And so we can also be assured that he will be with us, even when it's hard, even when we have doubt, even when we think someone else would be better for it. But God calls us anyway. So I invite you this week to notice times throughout your days when you feel like something is hard, or when you feel doubt within yourself. And just remember that God's right there with you. Okay guys, so I have a confession. I think I forgot to include our memory verse in our video last week, so I apologize for that. But I know you've got it in your memory, so we're going to recite it together. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul and with all your might. So we'll finish our lesson today with our prayer. So please bow your heads and join me in prayer. God, we know your call comes with risk. We also know it's easier to choose the safe, comfortable path that we know so well. But on these safer paths, Lord, we will never know the blessing that you seek to bring to the lives of others. God, we sometimes get scared. We doubt our own abilities. We make excuses. But give us the confidence. Give us the strength. Give us the understanding to follow your way, even when we aren't sure how to do it. Guide us in all that we do and continue to remind us that you are with us every step of the way. Amen. Have a great week, you guys.